Take 3. I'm leaving that in there because I'm an honest man and I like to know how many times I make a mistake, which is what this topic is about. So the first take was pretty bad because I realized I was doing the exact thing that I wanted to work on not doing. And then take 2, I kind of just hit a brick wall with my thinking. And then I realized that there was a little bit of brand recognition in the shot. So we removed that. It wasn't even my brand, it was fast food. It's not like it was that big of a deal. But this today's video, I keep saying this week. This week was covered in the last video or the last take. This video, I want to work on the not saying the so much. So I noticed in my last video that I had 2 really big problems that I didn't like about my video, and that was how many I said, and then how many double clutches is what I call them. That's why I've heard them be called, but like a double take on a sentence. And so that's usually whenever I say the word like, it's where I'm breaking up my sentence because my brain of thought isn't quite working right. So when I'm talking in my brain, it's all like this one fluid. It doesn't stop. And it all makes sense in my head. I know where the sentence is starting, and I kind of, like, rough estimate, know where it wants to end. And then it's up to just my mouth to make up words for the sentence to work. And so you can tell when I'm talking that it's like, wow, the first 1 or 2 words in the sentence are very, very strong. And then that middle of the sentence, it just kind of falls apart. And you get all these uhs and double clutches. And then the end of the sentence, you're like, oh, that kind of ended abruptly. Like, he got to the point and he stopped. That was it. And so I'm going to work on that, where my sentence structure makes a lot more sense. Everything's a little more fluid, and it all just flows a lot more nicely. And with my other 2 takes, my first one, I noticed that all my uhs and likes and double clutches were there. And I was like, crap, I'm going to have to restart this because it's not an improvement. And then with my double one, or my second take, I noticed that the branding was in the middle, and then my head froze for a second, and I just stared at my monitor trying to figure out what to say. So I got everything cleared out of my peripheral vision. We should be good, you would think, right? But that's kind of what the video on is today, is wanting to improve. But in order to improve, you got to be terrible at first. And I think that that's one of the things that I kind of struggle with. And if you know me personally, or even just, of my existence, then you know that I like to start new things, new projects. And I like to, be uncomfortable, but uncomfortable in the sense that I want to just simply understand how things work. And one of the downsides to that, trying to understand how things work, is that you have to not know how they work to begin with, which means you're stupid. And like the most, straight to the point way of saying it is that if you don't know how something works, then you're stupid on the subject, which I don't think is wrong for me to call myself stupid on certain topics. You wouldn't trust me to do open heart surgery on you. I'm stupid in that area. But you would trust me to install Windows updates on a computer, because that's literally all I do all day. And so with me doing these videos, you would think that, I talk to a camera once a week, every week, on live stream. It's not even recorded like this on live stream, which means I can't go back on my word. Once I say it, it's kind of like stuck until next week, where I'm like, so I was wrong. And this recording, I'm on take 3 now. I'm not going to do take 4 because the dog walked. We're just going to leave the dog walking in, and you're just going to have to deal with the toenails. But it's weird to talk to a camera by myself, and I find it very uncomfortable. It's not as weird now that I'm on video 4 and take, 600 at this point, but it's different. And I like the idea of knowing how the skill works, especially since we're in / coming up to, hopefully, a post-pandemic world and things will start going back to normal. It'll still be really good to know how to talk to a camera and make those sentences nice, fluid, soft, and make it not sound like I just have a dictionary of words in my head that I know, and I'm just like ripping them out live as I can find, like, oh, this word works with this word, works with this word, works with this word, and trying to make a sentence that is somewhat comprehensible. Instead, I want to make it so it's like, wow, this guy actually thinks of the words he wants to say before he talks about them. And I think that's one of the things that I want most out of this. The other thing that I'm looking for out of this video series, it's like, one, it's like, I have 6 years experience coming up now on owning a small business, and I do think that some of that knowledge has a value to it. I don't know if that value is good. I don't know if that value is bad, but everything has a value to it. So being able to get that value out for free for people to see and let them be the judgment on, is this a good value? Is this a bad value? And I'll see, how people accept it by, if I get more views or less views. The other things I would like to see from this is simply just, my skill set. I want to learn how to talk to a camera. That's great. But then the production value of this is actually not that bad. I'm very well in focus. And then, you could tell behind me, like this computer is clearly out of focus. But then, you can see my acne on this side. And then my mic might be a little bit in focus, a little bit out of focus. But then if I, that looks bad, that looks bad. And there's the focus line right there. And these are like little skills I learned. So like I have one softbox light up there. I have a mic on a boom arm with whatever this bungee thingy is called, just to help, make the sound better. And I think these are a lot of production values that might have been overlooked, especially when I talked about in the first video, were clearly overlooked because the technology just wasn't there for the lower consumer in market like myself, where everything was filmed on a 720p webcam, which was considered high-end back then. And, now I'm recording at 1080p 60, with, rather nice audio. I want to say it's great, but it's a lot better than what they had in 2008 when they recorded their exact same videos that I'm doing now, which is, I think, Lewis started making the videos in 2008, 2009. That's Lewis Rossman, 2 S's, 2 N's, 2008, 2009. And he was 5 years in business then, I believe. I'm 5.5 years in business, and I'm kind of on the same track. And that's one of the dangerous things is, taking people's advice taking successful people's advice, in a different time. And so what worked for him, 11, 12 years ago, probably won't work for me now, 12 years into the future, simply because of how different the world has operated, and especially those last 2 years. But a lot of the advice is still good advice, and that's the part that I really want to pass on. But that's also, that's not the whole goal of this thing, I think. Lewis said he started his video series out as a therapist because he was tired of paying for a super expensive therapist that he could barely afford when he could just talk to a camera for free. And I was like, well, that's not bad advice. I can sit here and talk to a camera. And I even noticed between, this video's 3 takes, how different the attitude has shifted on the way that I present this subject of what I'm expecting out of this, and how it's already changing, even though this is video 4. And I'm like, well, we're going to switch from giving business advice to doing business stories with some type of, underlying value to it. And then this video is like, so, we're just adjusting every video and trying to find exactly what it is that I want in the end. Because like the customer in the last video, I know what my end goal is, but for some reason I can't tell me what it is. So it's my job as the technician to find out what the actual end goal of the customer is and get him there. It might have been liquid damage to begin with, but now it's bent CPU pins. my end goal at the beginning of this, when I started, might have been, to be internet famous and to give business advice and, to have all of these subscribers. And then it slowly shifts to be like, I just need a therapist that's free. And it changes. And I don't think that's the bad thing. But simply being uncomfortable in front of a camera and knowing that is one of my flaws, is that it is weird. And wanting to fix it, I think that's a good step in the right direction. And knowing what makes you uncomfortable and figuring out how to make it more comfortable. And for this, it's just simply do it more. So I also ride a motorcycle, and one of the things I don't really like doing is turning left on the motorcycle. I am much more comfortable turning right, which is super weird, but I, for some reason, feel much more comfortable turning right on the motorcycle. And so when we're going at speed, which is, speed limit, of course, and there's a left turn, I often take the left turn slower than I take the right turns, because I'm just not, when I practice in a parking lot, for some reason, I practice my right turns more. And so I've become more comfortable with my right turns. And that's a personal flaw that I know of me. And so when I'm out riding, I'm like, all right, here comes the left turn. I shouldn't go ham out of my comfort zone. That will end up getting me killed. I will wrap myself around a tree if I get too uncomfortable. But I should push myself just a little bit to make me learn to be more comfortable with left turns. The more comfortable I get, the better I'll get, and the better my riding experience will be. Just like this. The more I push myself to be uncomfortable talking to this camera will make me not so uncomfortable. It'll make my sentence run smoother. I'll have less uhs, less likes, less double clutches, and it will all just be a better experience for pretty much everyone. And then once I become comfortable, I think, is where the actual value of these will start coming out. So, it might just be like little funny stories about how there was liquid damage and then CPU vents and this whole crazy roller coaster of a customer happened, or how a silly little, 2 emails makes the button, one more button makes it impossible to send an email. These stories are kind of funny, but have a little bit of value to them. But what they're really doing for me is just teaching me how to be more comfortable in front of a camera and really help me slow down my sentences and also speed them up, because my sentences are kind of choppy. I know that, and I'm working on it. And that's really this video, is that I think you should look for what makes you uncomfortable and figure out how you can keep it uncomfortable just so that you're learning. Because if you're not uncomfortable, or you're not a little bit embarrassed, like most of the people I know don't know about this channel. There is a very select few of you that actually know the existence of this channel. And that's just because it's, peer review, I guess is the right word for it. It's your values that I take into account. And so when you're just like, so when I show you this and you go, oh, wow, there were a lot of uhs in that video, I take that like, all right, that's something I need to work on. I need to work on the uhs. I need to work on the sentence structure. I need to make it understandable to a bigger audience rather than just my brain. But if I didn't get myself out of the comfort zone, I would have made that first video, or maybe not even made that first video. I would have simply owned the domain, the YouTube account, and never done a thing. I've owned this domain for, I think, 1.5 years now. Never once created a video. And that's just because it was too uncomfortable for me. So I'm going to continue to try to do this. I say that like I did last time, and the time before, and the time before. But I will continue to try to be uncomfortable for you, simply to improve my skills and hopefully start creating some better content, because, everything starts out bad, but you have to work through the bad to get to the good. And I think at the 15-minute mark, I should stop rambling over the exact same 4 sentences in the video. And on that, it's Saturday. So I'm going to close up here in a minute. I'm going to go fix up a bike real fast, and I might try to ride a little bit. And y'all have a good weekend, and I will see you back maybe Tuesday, probably Wednesday. Have a good one.